What up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Shout out to the 34th State Media for putting together some drone shots of the farm at Quail Valley so I can kind of walk you through the course and let you kind of see what it looks like now that everything's greened up a little bit. So we're starting out here on hole number 1. Should mention, we have 2 tee pads on every single hole out here now, and they are all turf pads, which is unique to the area. Pretty awesome to see. Basket 1 sits kind of down in this little cove of trees, and there's actually a long pin off to the left across the creek now. Hole 2 is a relatively open hole. Got OB all down the left side, OB all down the right side with that different color of tall grass that you can see on the left. The basket sits kind of between 2 trees at the end of the green. It does play quite a bit uphill, so your shot will be blind. You just got to get enough distance off that tee shot to where you can see the basket coming down the stretch here. Hole number 3, there's a longer tee pad off to the right that's brand new, and this basket is a pretty cool basket placement. You can see that tee pad down on the right side of your screen there, and then this is the traditional short pad. It's a nice blind little hyzer shot that the basket sits kind of in this like old road or ravine type with a bunch of rocks around it. It's just a really cool aesthetic green, really fun to play. Hole number 4 plays parallel to hole number 2 with that tall grass on the left being out of bounds. There's a mando toward the opening of this the gap that you can see. This is the long tee, and we have a shorter tee up here on the left that you can see there at the left side of your screen. The basket is really cool on this. It sits down by the water's edge. And we've also just put in a brand new island basket that sits a little bit further, maybe 100 feet further than that pin. Hole 5 is probably one of my favorite holes on the course. You got a nice rock wall on the left that drops off to the water, and then you've got a nice rock wall, actual rock wall on the right side that plays 3/4 of the way down the fairway, and there's this big, beautiful water wheel that's not working anymore. It's just there for aesthetics at this point, but it is such a picture-perfect green, just an absolute phenomenal hole. Hole number 6 is another pretty fun hole that kind of plays along the side of the dam. We got a long pad way back here that plays as a par 4, and then the shorter pad here that plays as a par 3. It's kind of like if you're right-handed a hyzer flip shot down the side of this dam. You want to get it close to that dam because it does drop off quite a bit, and the basket kind of plays around the corner and up this little bitty hill, kind of tucked in. There's a nice, beautiful old stone wall to the left of the pin as well. Now, hole 7 is probably another really good signature hole on the course. We got a brand new bridge that we just put in for this hole where the long pin sits on an island. And this is the traditional tee you see right here. Nice, perfect fairway. I mean, this is the true definition of fairway right here. It looks tight, and it is tight, but it's definitely manageable. It's workable. If you've got the power, you can go for the island on one tee shot, but majority of players are going to be throwing like a mid or possibly a putter around to this area here, and then have this daunting shot over the pond for their final shot into the green. Plays as a par 4, and it is a very challenging one. Hole 8 is a relatively easy hole, I would say. Not terribly far in distance, but it is the first of 2 elevated baskets. This one sets up on a big sand hill with big old truck tires all around it, and the basket kind of sits right in the middle of it. Just kind of a pretty cool little unique feature to the course on what would normally be just a wide open, relatively easy hole. Hole number 9 is a little bit longer hole, tight, narrow fairway, OB down the left, OB down the right. And the tall grass that you can see around this basket also plays out of bounds. The trick on this shot is just make sure you trust your shot, play it out to the right if you're right-handed, and make sure you have enough distance to get over that small fence there on the right side. Otherwise, you're going to be looking at a big number. Hole 10, nice, downhill, through a tunnel. You can see this pin placement just straight ahead from the tee, and it just sets up pretty. It's such a beautiful looking shot. Relatively easy hole, I would say. Not too much of a challenge on that particular hole. Hole 11 is a short uphill turnover hole. So this hole plays further right than you think, and you got OB all down the left side here. Most players are going to be attacking this hole with either a forehand or possibly a turnover putter shot. Hole number 12 is another signature hole on the course. It's the one that you see when you first pull in, or the pictures you've seen me post. Such a fun hole. Tyson had this tractor sitting around, and I told him, let's do an elevated basket on this hole since it's kind of out in the open. And he came up with this idea of putting the John Deere out there with a basket in it, and I think it's awesome. I think it just looks cool. It's such a tough hole, too. It's not easy, especially when the wind is up. Hole 13 is another pin you'll see, or another hole that you'll see when you first pull into the park on the left side. This is a beautiful hole as well. This would be the long traditional tee right here. Plays across the water, and it's a nice tight gap at the end. You got to make sure you're throwing the disc relatively straight. A little over 300 foot, I think, is the hole, so most players are going to be throwing a mid-range, maybe a fairway driver at this hole. Hole number 14 is a tunnel shot. As you could tell from this extremely elevated view of this hole, doesn't really give you much here, but we'll show you right down the middle of this on this hole 14. This is the long tee pad here, and it plays as a double mando that you'll see up here as the drone will fly through it. Right here is the double mando. Then you've got the short tee that's been in here for quite some time now, and man, this is tunnel shot at its best. You just got to make sure to keep your disc low, flat, and straight if you want to have a look at a birdie at this hole. Is a relatively easy par to get, but most players are going to want birdies. Hole number 15 is the gravel pit hole is what we call it. It used to be an old quarry up here, kind of in this bottom area. You can really tell it's just got some old rock. It used to be a nice rock quarry. Not too far. Some of the bigger arm players are going to have no issues getting up this hill and getting up on top of the flat to give themselves a look at birdie from either tee pad. Just built this staircase as well with a nice roller ramp right up the side. Pretty awesome to see. Hole 16 is a very challenging par 4. Most players' tee shots are going to land kind of down at the bottom there in the shade, and then have to navigate quite a few trees actually to get to their next shot to give themselves looks at birdies. Keeping it nice and low and trying not to skip off too far to the left, and minding that OB on the right side as well. You can kind of tell from this view here, this creek that you're crossing is out of bounds. You just got to make sure that you're in the right area in order to get up and down for your birdie 3 on this really tough par 4 coming down the stretch. Hole number 17 is a relatively short hole. Should be birdied by most players. You're going to really want to get a 2 on this hole, going into the tough 18 and coming off the more challenging hole 16. Not a very long hole at all. There is a basket on the left side, and we have a new pin up on the right side that is a little bit longer and a little bit more challenging. But for the most part, this is just a hole you're going to throw a mid or fairway at and have your look at birdie. Hole 18. Such a tough finishing hole. It is an uphill tunnel shot, par 4, but it is reachable in 2 for your eagle. You just have to be able to throw it roughly 430 or something on a rope uphill on a tight line. Now it's not reachable or birdieable or eagleable for everybody, but I have seen a handful of players get the eagle on this hole. Have a nice tee shot, land right up in this area, kind of around this old tree, right about here, and then give yourself a nice jumper at the eagle putt. So there you guys go. That's the farm at Quail Valley down in Winfield, Kansas. Look them up on Facebook and Instagram. See when they're open to go play that awesome course. Shout out once again to 34 State Media for putting this drone footage together for me. And we'll see you on the next one.